Hi everyone, welcome back to another Sunday reading with the local honey picture box. This reading is for the week beginning on Sunday, March the 12th. All right, this first card is about self-respect. So when this card comes up, it's an invitation to check in about, whatever situation you're navigating or whatever thing it is that you're dealing with right now that you're looking for insight on. This card is an invitation to reflect on your own level of regard for your own feelings and wishes and needs, and whether you're acting in a way that honors those things. When we put other things before those, like when we don't really value and factor our own needs into the equation, or when we kind of ignore our wishes in order to kowtow to what other people want or to try to be pleasing or whatever reason, that's really a lack of self-respect. Self-respect and self-worth are really closely intertwined as well. Like, when you have a basic level of self-worth, then you can act in a way that respects your own feelings, wishes, and needs. And when you act in a way that respects and honors your own feelings and wishes and needs, then that also builds your that also builds your sense of self-worth, because you're treating yourself like you are worthy of those things being honored into the decisions and to the way that you're showing up to things. So I would really reflect, like, is there some situation that's going on right now where you're willing to put your needs or your wishes or your feelings on the back seat in order for somebody else? Sometimes that's appropriate. Like if you're taking care of a small child, then you have to put them first. But if you're in a situation where, you're not really factoring those things into the equation of how you're navigating, then that might be a place where you have room to reconsider, like, the level of self-respect you're showing up with, and you can always raise that up by treating your needs and wishes with a higher priority. And sometimes we don't really consciously think that the way that we're acting is lacking in self-respect, but then if you really look at it and you think, like, okay, is this a decision that someone who respects themselves would make? Then that can bring a lot more clarity as well. Sometimes when we don't have a high level of self-respect, we don't treat, like, the idea of having an appropriate level of regard for your own feelings, wishes, and needs. We might have a distorted idea about what is an appropriate level of regard. When we don't have as much self-respect, we don't really feel like it's appropriate for us to honor those things. And so what you perceive as an appropriate level of regard might be less than what it actually could be. Like, is it in line with what you would consider basic decency for anyone else? Is it what you would expect anyone else to put up with, It's amazing how often we feel like it's okay to just put our own feelings and wishes and needs on the back burner, or to put up with stuff that we would never, ever, ever expect or ask someone else to put up with. Like, when it's us, we're like, oh, it doesn't matter as much. Actually, it does. So that's what this card comes up to remind us of. Now, this middle card, how much do you trust yourself? This card can come up in situations where there might be like some level of self-doubt or uncertainty going on, and this card is kind of an invitation to check in on that and really look at like, how much of a sense of security do I feel in myself and my ability to navigate this situation? And am I showing up in a way that reflects that, or am I really like struggling? There are a lot of reasons why people struggle to trust themselves, and honestly, sometimes some of those reasons are valid. So it's not to say that if you're struggling with self-trust, it means that you're like wrong or delusional or that there's something wrong with you at all. But what it does mean is that like you can always build that up more, you know? When you have a solid level of self-trust, then you usually in that situation do not feel the need to try to control things around you, because if you can trust yourself to deal with shifting and changing circumstances and to deal with the unknown as it arises, then you don't need to be in that having that tight grip on things. And so sometimes when we're like trying to control things or having a tight grip, that can show a lack of self-trust, because it's like we don't believe that we'll know how to act if things unfold in a certain way that is not ideal for us. We don't trust how we'll be in that situation. Sometimes also like people think that self-trust means you have to be absolutely certain about the decisions that you're making or about like the way you want to navigate something. And that's not always the case either. Self-trust just means that, you know, even if you're not completely certain about what you want to do in a situation or how you want to handle it, that's okay, because you know that you're just going to make the best decision that you can with the information you have right now and the level of awareness and skill that you have right now. And however things turn out, you'll deal with it and you'll learn from it. And that's a lot of what self-trust comes from too. Really what self-trust is about is being able to say like, I have my own back, you know? Like if you know that you have your own back, then you don't have to know how things are going to pan out or how you're going to act in any given situation. You just have to know that you're going to be there for yourself. You're going to learn from whatever happens, and you're going to not reject yourself based on how things go. And that's a solid foundation for self-trust. A lot of times, like when you don't have as much self-trust as you would like to have, one of the things you really can do to build that up is to just prove over time and consistent action that you actually are on your own side, mostly by like honoring boundaries and paying attention to your needs, which kind of ties into this next card, which is the card about our responsibility to be a loving parent to ourselves. The three primary colors on the background of this card represent the three main areas of needs that we have to tend to, which is physical, mental, and emotional. So, you know, a lot of times when this card comes up, it's about looking back to those really basic things. Like, what do I actually need? Am I eating good meals? Am I sleeping well? Am I taking care of like my medical needs of my body? Am I drinking enough water? You know, am I having time to rest? Those really basic needs that everyone has. You know, am I putting on a coat when I'm cold? Simple stuff that when we're disconnected from ourselves, we can easily fall into patterns of neglecting. The more that you are being like a loving parent to yourself by taking care of and honoring your own basic needs and having a habit of doing that, is the more that you're going to build up self-trust, because you can actually rely on the person who's taking care of you, which is you, that is going to show up and like do that well. And the more you do that, then also honoring your self-respect, like honoring your wishes, feelings, and needs, will build up your self-trust too. So really what I'm getting from this whole reading of like these three cards together is like there's something's going on right now where you really need to just take it back to basics. Like, what do I actually need right now at a most foundational level? Do I need to eat something because I'm getting hangry? You know, do I need to like have a better sleep hygiene and actually do what I need to do to get a good night of sleep? Do I need to pay attention to my safety in certain situations and put myself in scenarios where I'm not like taking unnecessary risks, you know? Really simple stuff about our basic well-being. Focusing on that, it's going to give you a little bit more of the stability and the groundedness and the self-trust to feel more confident in yourself, and also to really have the clarity to look at what are my feelings and needs and wishes in whatever situation you're in, and like, am I showing up in a way where I have my own back on those things? So we don't really expect these things like self-trust to just come automatically at the snap of a finger because we decided that we should trust ourselves. Like, you kind of have to make a track record to prove to yourself that you are trustworthy and that you are like taking care of yourself and showing up for yourself in those basic ways, you know? I think that's what this is really, these three together are really saying. If you want to trust yourself, you need to respect yourself and take care of your basic needs as like a ground zero of how that works. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm getting from this reading. Hope you found that interesting or useful or something like that. Let me know if you like these weekly readings. I'm thinking about maybe changing up how I offer readings. I'm not sure if the weekly long form reading format is really like something that people have time for or something that people like. So I don't know. I might try offering them at a different frequency, or offering personal readings for people over on Instagram, or offering readings in different formats like carousels or reels on Instagram. I don't know. Let me know what you think or what works for you. I hope you have a great week. Until next time, take care of yourself.